Right, so I'm very excited today because this is our very first interview in the podcast. Hello and welcome to Mind on the Rocks, your podcast about mental health. I'm your host, Rodrigo. I have with me my co host, Manu. And today we're welcoming Dr. Daniel Bergman. Hey, Daniel. So, who are you and
Well,
what is your mission?
I'm very well. Well, thank you. My mission is to help people make their educational dreams come true, and specifically through the application process, maximizing their chances of admission.
Sounds really cool. So, can you tell me about like your experience with that kind of thing?
Sure. Well, it goes back several decades, actually. So, my roommate in college was an aspiring medical student. And as you may know, there's a challenging personal statement that needs to be written for that purpose, as well as some other secondary essays. But he was stumped about how to do that. So he came to me. I helped him. He got into one of the country's top medical schools, one of the top 10 schools. And people started coming to me, mostly in the beginning, friends, and then friends of friends. I have a lot of international student friends. And to make a long story short, eventually I started doing this on a full time basis professionally.
That's so interesting. Yeah, nowadays I think I don't know about like younger people, but I did feel like a lot of pressure from my parents to get like a college degree, go to a prestigious college. And as I was a couple years ago, I was on my 17s maybe, and people were just like the only thing that matter is what college you're attending. Are you going to get into one of the elite unis, or are you just gonna be like someone that is not on the top 1% or whatever? And there's this kind of like huge pressure that you have to be like this prestigious person. You have to be on the top unis to have success. And I think a lot of people like link that kind of like academic success to actually their self-worth. So this is where like mental health starts to show up, right? Hey, if I don't join like Ivy League, then I suck, if I don't get accepted, then I'm not good enough, or and then I should just settle in, I don't know, work at McDonald's or whatever. So how you think we evolved from back when you started to nowadays? Do you think that pressure got better, maybe got worse?
Well, sadly, I think the pressure has increased as the level of competition has increased because those schools that are known as the elite or luxury schools have become more competitive than they used to, and they're even becoming increasingly competitive as time goes on. So I think it's part of the overall trend of society toward competition. I think it's not healthy. I think there are many things that can be done. To take your analogy about Ivy League versus McDonald's, there's a tremendous distance in between the two. And I think part of achieving good mental health involves understanding that it's not a choice between so called Ivy Leagues and McDonald's, that there's a big space in between, and that you can really have a very happy, fulfilling, satisfying life without putting yourself through so much intense competition. You could try for something, but there are schools that are not as competitive where you can get just as good an education because education is largely a matter of yourself, what you do to learn and to make connections and to make contributions. So it's largely a matter of what you do within yourself. And that, I think, goes a long way toward mental health and also getting yourself on the right track, on a track, a major, a career path that's right for you. And if you don't mind, I'd like to just mention a free resource that I think is so valuable that I don't want it to fall through the cracks. So there's something called 16personalities.com, 16personalities, plural.com. It's not my website. I have no affiliation with it. I have no financial interest in it. But what's so wonderful about it is that it does what not so many years ago you would have to go to a psychologist who was licensed to administer a particular, what's called a personality inventory. Now you can do it in 20 minutes online for free with a fun quiz. And what it does is it generates a 4-letter code that is your personality type. That type can be matched with a major in college, university, and a career path. And it's astoundingly accurate. I'm not saying that in every way, every single time it's going to be, but all the people I've worked with, all the students, they're always amazed at how accurate it turns out to be. And getting to know yourself at such a young age, when people are applying to universities and making sort of career path decisions, that's extremely valuable. It can go a long way toward getting you on the right track and getting you on a track that it's not fulfilling your parents' dreams, but your own dreams. It's your own plan, your own dreams. So figuring out what your personality type is, which majors those match up with, which career paths those match up with, that can be very valuable. And that's why I recommend doing this little fun quiz at this
It's called the
website.
Myers-Briggs test. Just for anyone that wants to know about it, but it's been gaining relevance since the last 400 years. It has been debunked a few times too. But it was literally created by a mother and daughter duo, I think Myers and Briggs. They used to be authors. It's quite interesting how they came up with this because apparently they just really loved observing people and trying to fit them into brackets. But yeah, having tests like this really do help you, figure out the kind of things that you want to go into. But more and more with higher education, we've been thinking of them as a gateway to a better job, as a stable lifestyle. But now with the evolution of AI and everything, we see that a lot of education that we've got, especially computer science, engineering, programming, mechanics, stuff like that, it's been really outdated because of AI. Yes, I've got more intelligent as a person, but the stuff that I've learned is no longer applicable in the world right now. And I'm having to relearn new technologies or start from scratch, and I'm competing with other people who also didn't go to uni and are learning the same level as me. So, what do you have to say about this kind of environment that we live in, where everything's moving so quick that universities and the courses aren't able to even keep up with the changes that's happening in the world?
That's true. Well, continuing education becomes extremely important because you can't just get a degree or get a certification and then it's one and done for the rest of your life the way it used to be not so long ago. So, continuing education is very important. Now, thanks to what's known now as MOOCs, Massive Online Something Courses, it's relatively easy to do that sort of continuing education. It's often free. So, as long as you take the initiative to keep up with things, that can be done.
Yeah.
But again, what about this? This I feel like less and less people are inclined to get into a university and stuff, especially when you think about all the money and the time and effort that you have to put into when you're not assured a degree that's going to give you a job in the end.
Yes. Well, part of this is an exercise in finding your path in life. And finding one's path in life, it's not necessarily a matter of a job that's going to pay you well, that's going to compensate you materially, but to find something that you really want to do, something that you're passionate about. And, there's this great quote by Picasso, who said that the meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away. And so there are many things that one can do in life to find one's gift and to pursue one's passion. It's not necessarily always a matter of material compensation. You may do something that pays well and you're miserable in the job, right? Or you may do something that you're thrilled about and it doesn't pay so well. My nephew, for example, is a musician, and he's not making a lot of money, but he certainly is enjoying his life. And if you ask me, well, what is more important? I think the answer is obvious. You want to do what you really enjoy doing. So again, it goes back to the 16 personalities and the Myers-Briggs inventory. Finding what you want to do is a very important step. And indeed, as you just mentioned, a formal college degree is not the best choice for everyone. It sort of depends on what you have in mind in life.
So true. Yeah, in my personal experience, so I just had my parents. I felt a lot of pressure from my parents to be like pretty much become an engineer, go to college, get your engineering degree, and then you're gonna have like a formal job, a stable job, and you're gonna have like a stable career and you're gonna be happy. And I did not want to do that, but also like I did not see any solutions in front of me. So I just kind of like I felt stuck for a couple years until eventually I decided to start learning music and studying music, and I tried that. But also like especially here in Brazil, I'm Brazilian, so music is not very viable if you're having like some financial goals usually. Speaking like in general terms, and after finding out about like how it could be more financially challenging for me, I just dropped the idea completely, and I found that was like 2019. So programming was like booming, and like I had a lot of friends in programming doing software development and having great results with that. So I wonder like, can I do that? Because there's YouTube, Udemy, there's a lot of online resources. So I just went for it. I started working on a startup, and I have no university, I have no formal education, but somehow I got to kind of like insert myself in just into the software engineering industry. And then I got like a long, not too long, but I got like a 5 year successful career, ended up working on big tech and stuff. That's to show that there are paths. They're not just, going to uni, get your degree and stuff. And also, I think that going to uni is not just about education. So I don't think I miss any education that people who go to uni had. I don't usually feel behind or less knowledgeable or whatever. But I do feel like I missed on a lot of other things that university offers to you that's not necessarily knowledge or education. So lots of people have friends they kind of like met in uni, and just they're friends even today. So years and years later, decades sometimes. And there's this also like place where everybody's kind of like knowing themselves, and kind of like, it's almost like a transition from you're a young people, but now you're turning into an adult, and you're gonna have like more responsibilities. And I just, I didn't have anyone going through that with me. So with all that in mind, how do you think how can we form, if someone is watching this, how they can form an informed decision? Is uni for them, or is uni not for them? What are the pros and cons? What are they sacrificing if they choose to go to uni, or if they choose to not to go to uni?
Yes. Well, counseling at the outset, I think, is very valuable because you get on a track that will end up taking you somewhere for several years. And if you don't really investigate, then you're doing yourself a disservice. So, speaking with people you know, starting with people you do know, people you might find online or in your social circles, visiting the schools, talking with alumni from the schools. What are they doing? In particular, probably looking at people who represent what you feel at that point you would like to be doing in the near future. And then talking with them. How did they get there? What did they do? Did they go to university? Did they not find it necessary? Would they still encourage someone to do that today? Get their honest opinions. Engage in forums online, for example, Reddit, or a subreddit, whatever, or on Discord. People will very honestly share their opinions. You do have to invest some time to figure it out, but it's really worthwhile because for the next few years, you're going to be getting on a track and it's going to be consuming your time, your money. And so you really owe it to yourself to do some of that investigation.
So true.
That makes a lot of sense. What advice do you think that someone should get before they actually make the decision, whether they decide if uni is the route for them or not? So, what do you think that one main factor is that would maybe make that decision for somebody?
Well, I don't know that there is a single factor. I think really it's a multitude of factors. And I think also it's not quite an accurate assumption to think that the decision that you make is sort of one and done, you get on the path and that's it. Because, for example, nowadays there's something called the gap year. So people take a year off between high school and college, and they explore, they experiment, they think about things, they travel, they talk with people. During that year, you can learn a lot about yourself and the world. And you might learn enough to feel confident about making a decision that you didn't feel comfortable making a few months earlier. So I don't think that it's something you have to assume, now I'm going to make a decision and then I'm going to have to stick with that. Not necessarily. Take a gap year and do some of the things that I just mentioned.
I'm taking a gap year right now, by the way. I quit my job in May. I'm 31, so I'm not between college and uni, but I think I just got to that point where, like, okay, I need to actually take some time to get to know myself and try to get places where I'm going to feel more fulfilled. But I do think one thing that you said that caught my attention was that talk to people who are doing things that you kind of like, you wish you were doing yourself, or people that are in a place that you wish you were, and just listen to them. And I think that's a mistake that I made a lot of times in my life, not doing that. And instead, I was just, I think the most common mistake is like you want advice and then you just go to maybe your parents or your friends or your family. They can be like, they can give good advice sometimes, but if they're not, you're trying to become like an Olympian, or you want to run and compete in the Olympics, and then you get advice from someone who didn't ever do running in their life, they're not going to have the answer for you. Or even worse than that, they might have the wrong answer for you. They might actually get you towards somewhere you don't want to go. So I think that's super important to, like, if you want to get some result, try to look to people that achieve that result so they can actually give you the good information. Because nowadays, I think we're like on the overabundant age of information where you have so much information, but not all of them are good information. So there are a lot of people online, and any topic you can think of, I think you can get like 10 takes or 20 different takes. And just going through YouTube and just going through forums, you can hear people like with different opinions, giving you different directions. And we've been talking about, should I go to uni? Someone may say, yes, you should definitely go to uni. And then some other person can get to you and be like, you definitely should not go to uni. You're going to be drowned in debt. You're going to spend years of your life trying to pay your debt. It's not going to guarantee you a job. And then this other guy that, yeah, you should definitely go to uni. Because like I met my co-founder in uni and now we have this company, everything's working out well. And I think that goes to show that, there are different paths for different people. But the point that I'm trying to get here is we are like in this world of information, world of do this, do that. Like everybody is confident on their opinion. How do we know, like how can we tell like which is which? How can we tell I should listen to this guy, I should not listen to that person? How can we tell apart good information from bad information?
I think the simple answer to that question is the more people you talk with or you communicate with in writing online, the more precise a picture you will get. It's like a big puzzle with a lot of pieces. The more pieces that you fill in, the more the puzzle will become clear, because you will find overlaps that show where the greatest truths lie. If many people agree on the same point, then there's a good chance that that's accurate. So the more people you query, the more clear and precise a picture you're going to get.
That makes sense. But again, the problem comes down to usually when people are looking to uni and stuff, they haven't really figured out what they want to do yet. So I feel like more people look at uni as a place that even if they don't really know the direction that they want to go in that 3 or 4 years that they are there, they'll probably be able, by the end of it, hopefully they have a better idea of the kind of person they want to be, because you're just there with a lot of people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different mindsets, and you're all mingling with each other in the same classes, becoming friends with people you never thought you'd meet. And hopefully, because of all of this, by the end of 4 years, you end up becoming a completely different person than what you actually initially thought when you went in. So I feel like that's kind of the main calling factor to a lot of people to university rather than the degree itself.
Yes, well, it's a socialization process. It is a process of discovery and exploration. Yes, it's many things.
Teamwork as well, learning how to work with other people in projects. Okay, I think we're getting like a clearer picture now. So tell us a little bit about your actual process. So, some young guy, 17 years old, come to you and, hey, I want to join this university. What is this step-by-step process you take, or do you just talk to the person before? Just what is it?
Yes, well, it's a yes on both counts. I do speak with the prospective applicant first. We have a discussion about what they are thinking, what their plans are, what their hopes are. And I prefer to work with people who are realistic because that way I can probably help them better than if they're not realistic. After that point, I do suggest that they take this personality inventory, and we can see whether their personality matches up with their plans. Very often, their plans are sort of imposed upon them by their parents. And, well, that's often not the best way of doing it. So one of the reasons that I sort of highly encourage people to do that personality inventory is to really make sure that what the path that they're on is something that they really want to do. So anyway, then the next step, to get back to your question, is because universities are competitive, even those that are not the top universities, there's always a certain element of competition. So people apply to a number of different schools. So we start out by getting organized. What schools do you want to apply to? And what schools might be the best fit for you? And along those lines, there's another set of free tools, which is what I call matchmaking sites, where in the cloud there's software where you can input information about yourself. For example, the type of school you think you'd like to attend, large school, small school, liberal arts, large research university, the majors of interest to you at this time, what your grade point average is, and so on and so forth. And those sites will suggest matches with universities. And again, because actually on my list there are 16 different free sites, matchmaking sites like this. By the way, I'm happy to share it with anybody who asks me for it. But again, the matter of overlap, for example, if all 16 of those websites agree on 2 or 3 particular schools, then probably those schools really deserve your serious consideration. But after the decision has been made about which schools to apply to, then we go about discovering the required application materials. What platform do they use? For example, here in the United States, there's something called the Common App platform that is used by most schools nowadays. But of course, in the UK, there's a different platform that I've also worked with. So we figure out, we identify, and some students apply to schools in the United States and the UK, and maybe another country. But we figure out what are the requirements. For example, the Common App, for the main application essay, you choose one of 7 different prompts. So we figure out, okay, what are the options, what are the choices? And then in the case of something like the Common App selection, then we brainstorm. What would be the best prompt for you? So we go about the brainstorming. And we proceed from there. And we gradually fill in all of the application requirements. It can be, of course, you have a major essay, you have supplemental essays, you have optional essays, you might have financial aid, scholarship essays. You'll have an activities list to fill out. And in some cases, you may be required to present a resume, maybe a portfolio, depending on what you're going into. For example, if you're an artist, you're a musician, there might be a portfolio that you need to put together. And generally, I will help students with all of those things, to whatever extent they want me to. They want as much help or as little help as they want. This is fine with me. I just help them however they want. We usually use Zoom in combination with Google Drive documents, which is a very helpful combination. And those are the basics of getting started.
Yeah, I absolutely, how you mentioned a couple times, like we see which university like is a good fit for you, or like we check the path you're taking is the actual path that you want to take. And I think a great mindset you have, and such a like part of the process. And especially like on my circle, my family, my friends, people just assume that, go get diploma, go get this job, and then you're fine. Then you're just gonna buy a house and that's it, And it's not like that for everybody. And I personally feel more inclined towards a different path in life. And I even feel like, during my 5 years working as a software development, I mean, we're working out well, I had my career, it was going good, I got a couple promotions, but eventually, as I hit kind of like this 5-year mark, I just started like more and more questioning my path, motivation, my reason to be doing all this. And even though like I got financial success and stability and money, and my parents were like, "Hey, good for you, you made it." I think that ultimately it working out for me. And I did take the task you mentioned about the 16 personalities, and I noticed I'm a mediator guy. And there are four quadrants that people can be part of. And I noticed there's a about like more intellectual people, and I'm not in one of those. Like the mediator is on diplomacy track, I believe, which led me to believe, like kind of like reinforce that, hey, I might, I might be going the wrong path here. And I if people feel that, but not necessarily everybody who feels like that actually has either like the motivation or the courage to stop what they're doing. Imagine like a friend of mine is a doctor, and he spent like I think 11 years going to doctor uni and then specializing and doing his first years, and then he's finally okay, now you're finally a doctor and you can operate as a doctor. Imagine like someone like that realizing, oh my god, I actually hate what I'm doing. And there are stories like that. There are people that go through that. So what advice, like from the moment that someone realizes, oh, this path might not be for me, what are the steps that I can take even in my personal life to get to know myself, to get to change my path, to understand like how should change my path, like how, because I'm literally trying to figure this out right now in my personal life. Like I'm trying to things. This podcast is one of those things that I'm trying, and it's been really fun. And sometimes we don't even imagine things that we can do and that are gonna make us feel fulfilled in comparison to the things that we know how to do.
So, nowadays there's something very popular. It's called shadowing. And it used to be just in the medical professions where a prospective medical student shadows a physician or something like that. But you could shadow anyone. Of course, it's with their permission. You're not stalking them.
Yeah.
You're with their permission. And I would say again, seek out people in roles that appeal to you, where you say to yourself, "Oh, I might really like to be doing this," and then contact some of those people. And now, before you ask them whether you could shadow them, you probably want to develop at least somewhat of a relationship. So, for example, if you find them online and maybe they've written some blogs or some articles, then read them and comment on them and maybe ask some questions about them. Strike up a conversation and develop a little bit of a relationship, and then say to the person, I have the sense that what you're doing may be something that I would like to do. Would you mind if I would shadow you for a day? Of course, it depends on where they are. They have to be in your physical location, or you have to be able to go to where they are. But you could ask them, may I shadow you for a day? I think it would be so helpful. Now, as they say in sales, it's a numbers game. So maybe the first person in X occupation will ignore you, or maybe they'll say no. But if you ask several of them, one of them is probably going to say yes. People generally are flattered that anyone else is interested in them. And if someone wants to follow them, to see what they're doing, most people will be flattered and they'll be thrilled and they'll say, sure, come on over and, you can hang out with me for a day. And, they may give you a few basic rules, well, when I'm doing so-and-so, sit in the background and don't interrupt us. But, that's an excellent way. That's usually it's completely free. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you do that, let's say for three main roles or occupations that you're considering, and you do that for each one of those, after you've done that, you're probably going to have a much clearer idea about which one of those you'd really like to pursue.
That's so
That
cool.
makes sense. Yeah.
I never
So,
really thought about that, but just having that possibility kind of like opens up my horizons a little bit. I feel like, yeah.
so just a point we need to bring up though, because this being a mental health podcast, so even though the number of universities have grown, people wanting to go to universities have grown, there's more competition. Even after getting in there, the number of people who are reporting mental health distress in university, it keeps seeming to grow year on year. So some of them says it's just about the mental stress of being in uni. So a lot of it is dealt to the isolation, being the loneliness epidemic that people are saying nowadays. Some state the financial burden of having to do a second job as well as uni to sustain themselves. So all of these are really hurting students as they go through this process and kind of ruining the entire experience itself, because how much are you able to actually enjoy university when you have this looming over your head that, oh, you may not get a job, you need to pay this back, or you haven't made any friends, or it's really hard to catch up with their work and stuff like that. So what do you think are the main reasons behind it, and what can we do to prevent it, either as a society and or as an individual going through this?
Sure, sure. Well, so I think one point that deserves to be made is that this is or somewhat a reporting issue. And nowadays, increasingly, people are more willing to disclose mental health issues. So part of the rise in the reporting of the incidence of mental health issues may be due to the increasing willingness of people to report those issues. But it is true that there are a lot of issues that arise, not just in college, but any time in life, but maybe especially in college, because it is a time of stress and rapid development. I think the quickest, easiest answer to your question is to seek out counseling. Now, as far as I know, every school has a counseling center. And as far as I know, any student who's enrolled in the school is entitled to counseling at no additional cost, beyond what they may already be paying for tuition. So, willingness to get help when you need it, I think that's the single most important piece of advice that I could give, because you'll have a trained professional. Very often you can have a certain decision in selecting which counselor you want. So if one counselor who's assigned to you doesn't seem to click with you, you could choose someone else. But it's very important to get help. And if you get professional help early on, then the chances are that you can do much better, and you can recover from whatever issue you're experiencing, and you can enjoy your at the school that much more.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. People should definitely take advantage of the mental health services. And I feel like a lot of people have this kind of apprehension or fear. And I feel like we need to start getting over that and realizing that our mental health is more important, and we need to take any steps possible to address it.
That reminds me, I used to work in this fintech company in Brazil, and I got like loads with lots and lots of responsibility willingly. They didn't force me. I just willingly took more responsibility that I should have probably. And then I contact they had like this support system where you could, apply, and then you could like I think for 5 therapy sessions with in your city. And I did. I contacted them, and then I told my peers that I was like, oh, hey, by the way, did you know that we have this resource available? And, I contact them and they were like, you did what? They were kind of shocked. They were like, oh my God, like, are you okay? And I'm like, I mean, obviously, like something's wrong because I'm using the therapy, I'm using this resource, but it's not like, hey, it's fine, okay? I'm just for help because I identified that I need some help, and it's okay to do that. I think people, maybe because like we've been like going through changes in society so quickly, but I still see, like, this taboo over like needing help. It's not even about getting help, but like if you need help, then you're either crazy or something's wrong with you or something's off, and you're probably probably maybe I don't want to be close to that person because they do therapy, they're crazy, whatever. And
And a lot of people who go to therapy don't want to let others know that they're going to therapy
yeah,
because it might make them seem weak or lesser or damaged in some way.
And you don't have to disclose it. It's completely up to you. And the question that I would ask, if I may, is friends who regard you that way. Maybe there's a better choice of friends. Friends who will accept you for who you are, for what you're doing, and who will be more open-minded about what you believe in. So if they have a problem with it, it's usually called a stigma. If they believe in the stigma that's attached to mental health counseling, well, that's their lack of understanding. It's not your problem, so it doesn't matter.
yeah. And I've been in this direction. I feel like in my personal life, I've been not like it's like this active thing, but I just feel like naturally I've been pulling away from people that are more like taboo and don't talk about mental health much, and I've been just naturally being closer and closer to people who either like relate to me, they have some form of anxiety or some form of they've been through depression at some point, or people that they're just like either open-minded or more educated on the subject. Maybe they don't go through that necessarily, but they kind of keep up with news and information, and they realize, hey, it's a real problem. I acknowledge this, and they're more empathetic, let's say. One thing that I wanted to touch on, you mentioned that because things change so fast. We got AI, we got new things, we got technology changing all the time, and you mentioned there's not like we're not in a one and done world anymore. You can't get your diploma, but you have to constantly be updating yourself, studying again. How do you usually like advise people to go with that? I know different areas, like if you're a musician, you're probably getting updates differently from doctors with doctor conferences and all. But in general, if you have someone that is young or is in university or maybe just graduated just now and they feel like, oh my God, I have to keep up somehow, but I don't know how. Like, how should they go about this?
Well, there are a number of different ways. One, of course, is to talk again with people in your area, maybe some people who are a little more advanced in their careers than you, and ask them, well, what do you do? How do you do it? Another thing that has been great for me is podcasts. And, quite frankly, I several years ago, I discovered a platform for podcasts, and scrolling through the menu and getting sort of recommendations for other podcasts based on what you're listening to. It's been a tremendous source of new knowledge for me, where I can learn all kinds of things about the world in so many areas at my convenience. That's the great thing about this technology. If you're, making your bed or shaving or showering or whatever, you can have it on during downtime when you wouldn't be doing something else. So that's another great way. And then forums, online forums, where you can post questions. For example, if you're in a physician, there's something called the doctors forum, and you could post a question anonymously because you all have handles that it doesn't expose your actual identity, and ask a question, post a question. Well, what are you all doing to keep up with so and so? And you'll get responses that will be, very often very enlightening, that you can choose from depending on what is most convenient for you. So all of those things I think you could access.
I personally love podcasts. Lately I canceled my Netflix sub. I canceled my Twitch sub. I canceled everything because like the only thing that I've been using is just Spotify and YouTube. And I'm either watching, I watch like regular YouTube videos, but most of the time I'm either like watching a podcast on YouTube or listening to a podcast on Spotify. So big fan of that. And I feel like, especially lately, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Andrew Huberman podcast, which is great. And also lately, I've been listening to a lot of the Diary of a CEO podcast,
Oh, that's amazing.
and
Yeah.
they have like all kinds of specialists and guests of different topics that some cancer specialists and health specialists, sleep specialists, and I feel like there's a lot of information that I get there that I wouldn't I will upon it if I didn't, listen to a podcast. There's so specific. It's so specific, like, hey, I'm a sleep coach, and like I take care of athletes and NBA people that need to get a good sleep before their games or whatever. And then you actually have access to information that used to be like highly inaccessible, I think. And nowadays it's just like, hey, you hit play on a video and it's there. So I think podcasts is just it's just like
I think
such a, yeah, go ahead.
I I think one thing that's most important about podcasts and just like video form content and stuff, it's the fact that all of this information probably existed in the time of internet, but as huge long papers that you had to read through to actually get to the source of it. But now you're hearing from people who've already gone through the work of actually understanding all of these research and all of these papers and everything, and they're able to give it to you in a form where you can easily digest it and information. So it's kind of great that people are sharing their information to the world so people can get smarter, similar to what universities do actually. So
Absolutely. And one of the other nice things is that if someone is talking a little too slowly for your taste, you can 2x it, right? You can make it go faster. If a
yeah.
Yeah,
commercial comes on, you the forward 30 seconds. And so it's isn't it?
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I wish you can do that in universities too, fast forward some of the lectures.
If I got to a uni class or something like that, I probably would feel stuck. And I'm like, where's the 2x button? Like, can it to the next episode? I don't like this one. But
What
yeah,
if you
okay.
miss and what if you miss something and you just wish that there was rewind button too?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, Dr. Daniel, like, do you have anything else that you think we missed or any important info that we didn't talk about?
Well, gosh, it's such a broad area. There's so many more things that one could talk about. I think we touched on a lot of bases. I learned a little bit about what you're doing, but Manu, what are you? What I think everyone is interested. What are you doing? What are your plans?
Well, like I said, so I graduated like 7 months ago from the University of Nottingham, so have a little bit more fresh memories of university still. Still in my uni town, probably trying to move out of here soon, but I was attached to this place, so I can see how people do that a lot. But when I graduated, I realized that working 9 to 5 wasn't really for me. So me with a few of my friends from university, who again I wouldn't have got the chance to meet because of without university. We built a social media app so people can scroll smarter. It's like TikTok or Instagram, but you scroll through the videos and actually get podcast clips and TED Talks, stuff that actually makes you smarter. So even this video is going to get chopped up and put onto that platform, into our platform soon. So
I
we're
see.
just doing podcasts, interviewing people, getting the word out, and hearing stories from interesting people.
Uh-huh. May I, what is the name of your platform?
Infotik, INFOTIK.
Oh,
Information.
that's the plan. Okay, I got it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Good.
Yes,
So
just
.co.
very good.
Could
Okay.
not get the call.
What may I ask? What was your degree in?
It was in computer science, human computer
Okay.
interaction.
Okay, very good. Very good.
yeah, interesting stuff. I love today's conversation, and especially because like I just felt like most of the answers were related to somehow connecting with people, either people that can give you advice or people that are doing something that you're interested in. And that's something that I've been leaning towards in my experience. Like I like focusing too much on the career side of things and being promoted and getting money. It's not really the way to go. And really we should be connecting more. And probably I'm going to risk and say that if I had done this more over like my whole career, I would probably get like some signs that I was in a weird kind of path earlier on, instead of like going through all the 5 years and then suddenly stopping, taking a look at the mirror and being like, okay, so things need to change. But yeah, great conversation, and thanks for being here with us.
Yes. Yes. May I ask one more question? I'm curious. You're in
Yeah,
different continents, different countries. How did the two of you meet?
this is a great
On the Reddit
question.
on a Reddit thread.
Ah, okay. All
Yeah, we
right. Very
met on
good. So
Reddit.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Good, good, good. And that's where I connected with you, Manu,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, good. So
Always
that
difficult.
illustrates the power of those. Good.
Yeah,
Definitely.
May give out a quick URL, a quick website, so just
of
in
course.
case
Yeah,
anyone
please tell where they
might
can find you.
might want help with a personal statement or application essay. Best personal statements with an S plural.com. Best personal, and send in the query form if you wish. No cost or obligation for that. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak with both of you.
Yeah,
Likewise, we'll have all links down the video. So
yeah.
Excellent.
Thanks everybody, and this has been the Mind on the Rocks podcast. See you in the next one.
Bye.